you're going to want to pull your seats closer, grab your cup of coffee, because when it comes to tracking that time of the month, it is a great way to keep tabs on when your next period starts, but there's so much more to your menstrual cycle than just a monthly reminder. Tracking every day can help you understand all the cyclical symptoms that you experience, that is from PMS to acne, headaches, bloating, and all the things that come with that time of the month, but most importantly can also aid in family planning and general health. Now we welcome back on your Feel Good Breakfast show gynecologist and obstetrician Dr. Jason Bennett, who will be discussing the importance of tracking as well as what the different days mean. Good morning, Dr. Bennett.
Thank you so much for having me again.
This is so funny because we were speaking about it in the beauty room now. I've never tracked it in my life. I'm just like, when God sends it, it comes. But maybe explain to us why exactly it's so important for us to track our menstrual cycle.
So I definitely believe it's important to track your cycle. Number one, it kind of just gets you to know your body a bit better, okay? Number two, you can be prepared for when you're going to have your period. And as you just said earlier, it kind of does explain the certain things that happen in your cycle. Like you may feel a little bit moody, you may feel a little bit depressed, you may get a bit of acne, some breast tenderness. It really does help explain those sorts of symptoms. But another important aspect is that it can help you plan your fertile period, or when you are most fertile during the month.
So I know there are different apps available and ways to track your periods, but how accurate is it to use one of those apps?
So the apps are very accurate, and I would advise everyone to use an app. They are free, they're most available on most smartphones, and they just make things a lot simpler. If you want to know the mathematics behind tracking your period, what's important to note is the first day that you start to bleed is your day one, okay? Your period is the time that you're actually bleeding. So most women bleed for less than 7 days a month.
That's God's favorite.
Yep. Your cycle is from the day you start to bleed to the day before the next time you start to bleed. And most women have about a 28-day cycle. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
Definitely.
So does that also give someone an indication when they may be bleeding too much and they need to seek medical help?
Definitely. So what I do say is track your cycle, record it, give it a few months, and then go and review it. And you can even review it with your doctor, your GP, your gynecologist, and you can have a look at it together and see how frequently you're having a period and how often you actually bleed, how often you're bleeding and how long you're bleeding for as well.
I definitely see the benefits to tracking because especially when someone is trying to start a family, this will definitely come in handy. When someone is wanting to start a family, when is a female most fertile?
So there are 6 days in a woman's cycle when she's most fertile. So we call this the fertile window, and it's, if you're wanting to have a baby or get pregnant, it's a good idea to have sex during that time. It starts with the first day's ovulation and the 5 days before that. Okay, it's important to note that sperm can live for 5 days, whereas an egg lives for about 24 hours. So to work out your most fertile period, what you do is you work out your average cycle length. So let's say, for example, your average cycle length is 28 days. You minus 14, that gives you your day of ovulation, and you minus 5 from that. So say with a woman with a 28-day cycle, her most fertile period is going to be from day 9 to day 14. Makes sense?
It makes sense.
The apps are really good, and they'll do all the mathematics for you.
And they'll send you little reminders.
Yes,
Will it?
you get a reminder.
Like, now's the time. Okay.
You get a reminder, you get a little image on your day.
No. Well, it's so important to know, when you're ovulating and all of that. Now, can we quickly track through the different phases that's part of a girl's menstrual cycle?
So there are 2 important phases. So the first phase is the first half of your period, and I call this the growth phase. So this is when the lining of your uterus starts to become thick again in preparation for a pregnancy. The second half of the menstrual cycle is called the luteal phase, the fancy word for it, and it's kind of the maintenance phase. So you've got a hormone progesterone that kind of maintains the lining of the uterus at a certain length. Ovulation is day 14, which is when the egg is released from the ovary and should travel down the tubes. And then your period, or when you start to bleed, is at the beginning of your cycle. So this is when that lining that is developed for the whole period now sheds and it's past.
I know there are also a lot of girls that are on contraceptives, the pill more particularly that obviously makes your tracking your period so much easier because you're drinking your daily hormone. I know there's quite a few of my friends that are worried. They've been on the pill since high school. They're now in their 30s. Is that something as a gynecologist that you would, tell them to rather get off for a while, or is it something they can continue to use until they're ready to conceive?
No, that's absolutely perfect, to continue using the pill until they're ready to conceive.
Dr. Jason, I think that you unpacked so much today, but it's always so good to have you with us. You become our favorite doctor.
Oh,
Can you see?
you.
We're just happy to have you here.
Thanks, it's great to be here.
Oh, thank you.
Now, another upside on tracking your menstrual cycle is planning ahead with regards to having pain relief and also anti-inflammatories on hand. Now, BRUFEN is there to help ease the aches and pains of that time of the month, every month.
Targets pain caused by menstrual cramps. BRUFEN works where it hurts.